In this week's episode of SempreInter, we'll be reviewing the matches against Slavia Prague in the Champions League and SPAL in the Serie A. We'll be previewing the upcoming fixture against Roma this Friday, this week's Moggi, Moratti and Frog, and much, much more. Everything here on Studio Inter, only on SempreInter.com.
Recupera Brozovic, andiamo in contropiede, la porta è vuota, tira, attenzione, e gol, e gol!
Benvenuti, bentornati to another edition of Studio Inter. I'm your host Nima Tavallaey, wishing you welcome after what can only be described as a brilliant past 7 days for Inter, after wins in the Champions League and in the Serie A, overtaking Juventus and Borussia Dortmund in those respective group standings. But we'll get into more of that but first I have to introduce our panel. He's SempreInter.com's own preview writer, analyst, and also the new king of predictions, Mr. Positivity himself, Mr. Mo Nassar.
I go by Mystic Mo now, please. So thank you very much.
Mr. Positivity, Mr. Mo. Mystic Mo. Okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. Right. And we are also joined by our very good friend, the host of the Alex Donno Show from Florida, Mr. Alex Donno.
Top of the Serie A table, still alive in Champions League. Lautaro Martinez can't stop scoring. What a time to be alive, Nima.
Amen, amen. I thought you were going to say top of the Serie A table morning to you, make like some sort of a pun joke on that. But
I'll remember that for next time. Hopefully, we're still top of the table next time we do this.
Absolutely. Hopefully, knock on wood. And we're also joined by our very good friend who hasn't been on for quite a long time. He's a commentator on DAZN or DAZN, if you're Italian. DAZN is Mr. Eduardo Dalmonte. Welcome.
I'm only on the podcast when we're winning because I'm a bad fan, baby.
Well, welcome back, you and your bad self. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. The Slavia Prague game was a game where most of us thought it was going to end in a 1-1 draw, except for you, Mr. Mohamed Nassar. So I'm just gonna hand it over to you. You told me privately that you thought Inter were going to win. So. Did the game go exactly as you expected it? Let me know.
Look, it didn't. It certainly didn't go as exactly as I expected it, because it went far better than I'd hoped in my wildest dreams. It was possibly the best game that we'd seen Inter play so far this season, and it didn't have the best players in the midfield. And I think that no one could have predicted that. No Barella and no Sensi, and still this absolutely dominant performance away from home. It was phenomenal. So no, I predicted. I'd imagined it would have been a hard-fought, gritty, 1-0 or narrow margin win. But this far exceeded any of my expectations. Absolutely phenomenal. And again, it goes without saying, like Lukaku had the performance of a season of a couple of seasons that match, and that scoreline is down to his absolutely altruistic play and some killer finishing by Lautaro.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that particular issue up, because to me that was Adriano. That was peak Adriano-esque performance there by Lukaku. The way he played in that game reminded me of Adriano all the way. The physique, the power, the technique, and and it really. I was going to ask if you guys what you guys think of that comparison, because I don't mean I'm not saying he's as good as Adriano or whatever, but I'm saying that the way he's played, the way he's enjoying his football right now at Inter, and the technique, the step overs, the physique, the speed, the power, it's peak Adriano for me. Ed?
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that comparison. Someone, I think, in the Gazzetta compared him to Jonah Lomu, the rugby player after the. You know what? You go back and watch some Jonah highlights, and he's just tearing through people. And yeah, he looked like a man among. I mean, the first goal, Lautaro's goal against Slavia, like that is just incredible. What Lukaku does on the ball is just unbelievable. He basically get off. You're not getting the ball back. I mean, I think I had a comparison that he's the best ball holding attacker we've had since Ibra, which I think is fair enough.
Yeah.
And the Adriano comparison is really good, except that Lukaku is more unpredictable when he shoots. You know, when people discovered Adriano loved to shoot with only 1 foot, they got more savvy. But Maron, I mean, there's my uncle was at the game and he said, you do not realize what it is to see Lukaku until you've seen him live. And he was at San Siro on Sunday, yesterday. And it was just incredible. It was absolutely bloody remarkable. And every time he got the ball, even against SPAL, the defense moved back about 20 meters because they just knew. It was like, okay, whatever. Could you see Icardi doing that? Yeah, no, me neither.
let's not create a riot and bring Mr. Nara into this. Let's leave those sleeping dogs where they lie. Alex, I'm keen to hear what you think here, because I mean, sure, he scored once, but those 2 assists, and I don't just mean the outside of the boot. To me, that was the best performance a striker, as a complete striker goes, that I can't remember the last time I saw an Inter striker be so complete. Can you?
No, I mean, and there's no question that was his best performance in an Inter shirt. And you mentioned the goal he had, the 2 assists. And guys, he could have had 2 more goals, could have had a hat trick, had 2 goals disallowed in the game. I mean, he was playing out of his mind. Can you imagine if he had 3 goals and 2 assists in the game? He had that sort of performance. But I'm glad that we're focusing especially on that first assist, because it was the second assist that really got passed around the internet. It was, goal of the week, from, Bleacher Report, and the Champions League account had that as the goal of the week. So that's the viral video that most people saw. It was the outside the boot assist. But I thought when it came to just level of difficulty, the first assist, when he took on and out-muscled 2 defenders, to me, that was the one that really made my jaw drop. Not that either of those were anything to snooze at, but I thought the first assist to me was incredible. And guys, it's not just the way that Lukaku is playing, which is fantastic, but the partnership between he and Lautaro. Not only are they on the same page technique-wise, they seem to legitimately enjoy each other's company. I mean, it was the first goal against Slavia when Lautaro was initially running in the opposite direction to do a solo celebration, then turned around and made sure to hug Lukaku, and you had that nice lasting image. You see all these photos of the 2 of them walking hand in hand on the pitch. I mean, this is not just a striking partnership. This is blossoming into a bromance.
It is a bromance. Yeah. I mean, did you see that? Did you see the shirt that Lautaro got them both, like, matching shirts after the game? It's so nice to see. They love each other. They're best friends. It's a real bromance, and it's so nice to see after. I mean, all of us remember exactly 12 months ago when all hell broke loose. Around this point, we were talking about, Perisic wasn't talking to Icardi. Nainggolan was just angry at everyone. Wanda was declaring war with everyone under the sun, and Mauro was faking a knee injury. I mean, just fast forward 12 months, and you have the striking duo buying each other's matching shirts and are absolute best mates. It's weird. It's so. Wow, it's such a change, isn't it? To how things were. But I mean, if we look at the game, I thought that although Slavia equalized, and I never felt that Inter were in trouble. I always felt that Inter were in control. Did you feel the same way there, Mo?
Yeah, it was strange. It took me a while to settle into the game. Even after the Lautaro first goal, to really, I feel like I was so tense because the result was so important, etc. So it took me a while for my mind just to register. Oh wait, this isn't as tough as I thought it would be. It's not as tight. Inter were really, really dominant. So I guess once I got into that sort of groove and saw the game at a bit of a distance, I realized. But yeah. Match was never in doubt. Absolutely never in doubt. The guys were on fire. Like you said, it was an absolutely dominant performance.
If there is one thing to take away negatively, I thought, at least in my opinion, it was Stefan de Vrij, who I think, although he's been really good these past few. He's been excellent this season, but I think that penalty was clear, and he was late, and he caused and he was lucky not to concede another penalty this weekend against SPAL as well, when he for some reason accidentally punched Petagna in the face, so he started bleeding. I don't know, is that just one of those things, or are we seeing maybe a little bit dip in form here? What do you think? What do you think, Edo?
I'm not sure that was a penalty on Petagna. The other one was a penalty, but on Petagna, I'm not entirely sure.
An elbow in the face, start bleeding?
Oh, I mean, that seems to me just tussling, two guys like trying to get to the ball, because you don't see Petagna even asking for a penalty. He just goes down, and then he's just like got a big blow. He just goes off. He doesn't even complain. I mean, that's the only part to me that makes it feel like no, the SPAL players weren't asking for a penalty. I can't seem to remember that anyway.
No, they weren't. But I mean, a penalty is a penalty, even if you don't ask for it.
No, sure, but considering that at the moment, if there's some sort of VAR, it's probably going to go against us. Yeah, of course, you can never be too cautious. But yeah, De Vrij, I thought, had a bad game, and people were blaming Biraghi for not giving him a passing option, basically, against Slavia anyway. But it's true that he was the slackest of the three centre backs, and you saw that again, really, against SPAL. Yeah.
So, Alex, do you think this is an issue, or is it we're just talking two games where, this sort of thing happens?
I can't. I think for me, it's way too soon to say it's an issue, only because he's been so excellent up until these last two matches. So it's tough for me to say when he's been the most consistent, when Skriniar had his problems early on, and then of course Godin has been kind of up and down this year. So it's really hard for me, unless the pattern continues with some big matches coming up, including Roma and Barcelona coming up in short order. If the pattern continues, sure, we can talk. But at this point, I think I have to give De Vrij the benefit of the doubt.
Sure. Speaking of Godin, I thought that was his best performance in an Inter shirt against Slavia. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. Do you agree, Mo?
I think Godin generally performs much better in the Champions League for us anyway. I think much has been made of very little. Good point. And I think much has been made of very little when it comes to Godin's contribution to the Inter defense. Look, I think expectation might have been too high, but the guy plays that's his game. He plays a very cool, calm, and collected, non-interventionist sort of football, and when he does intervene, it's usually very slyly. So I think Godin has suffered from a lot of expectation, and he's just performed, I think, very well. And even when not at his best, he's been very good anyway. So I think his best performances have come in the Champions League, and I think even in the league. I have nothing to complain about, So, I agree. He had a great game.
Yeah, he sure did. So I'm just going to quickly go around, ask everyone who was your man of the match against Slavia. For me, it was Lukaku, despite the fact that Lautaro scored 2. What about you, Mo?
Absolutely, Lukaku, no doubt about it.
Ed?
Lukaku or Lautaro, it was probably the two of them, because I don't think you could separate them in that particular game, and people went mental the next day over this partnership, and rightly so. So I think maybe just give it to both of them, just because, Lukaku should have had a hat-trick, realistically, but I think both of them, the way they worked with each other was just, exactly, as you said, the second assist Lukaku provides, but the third goal, it's the cherry on top, but it was just a logical conclusion to what was just an incredible evening, so I'd say both of them, really.
Nice shout. What about you, Alex? What do you think?
Clean sweep. I go Lukaku with Lautaro with the honorable mention, and I think we're seeing how enjoyable it is to watch Lukaku play under a manager whose system fits his personal gifts and philosophies, and as we talked about the bromance with his strike partner, and to me, like, Lukaku just looks like a guy who's having fun, like a kid on the playground. The joy that he has for this game right now, it's really fun to watch.
Sure is. And I'm starting to see see a little pattern here with I mean, when Lukaku tweeted, or I think it was on Instagram after the game, saying dogs got to eat, and that shirt that they have is a photo of I think it's a Rottweiler that they both got.
Yeah.
It's the ugliest shirt I've seen in my life. But as long as they're happy and scoring, whatever,
Whatever floats their boat, right?
Yes, at least they're not, putting photos of themselves in S&M situations on Instagram. No one forgotten, no one mentioned. Right. I'm sorry if I'm not gloating. I was never anti-Icardi and I was never pro-Icardi. I always had a neutral, kind of a nuanced approach to him. But I'm just so glad that we're 12 months down the line. This is like a night and day situation. Inter this year to that year to next year. So I'm just happy. Right. We've already touched on a little bit on the SPAL game. I mean, that first 45 minutes was a continuation of the Slavia game, and then we saw something that we saw against Sassuolo that we've seen in other games. This kind of mental collapse. Although Inter, in my opinion, kind of managed the storm in a much better way. But honestly, I have to say, this system, Antonio Candreva and Danilo D'Ambrosio, talk about a revenge for those two. I mean, they are the most consistent performers. Just look at how stable Inter's backline looks when Danilo D'Ambrosio's there. And I think we should acknowledge that. And I think maybe Mo agrees with me here.
Man, I have like a shrine at home for Santo Danilo. I think the guy's been, in our most trying moments in the last 2 seasons under Spalletti, he's the guy who's always given the most when the rest of the team were sort of teetering, and so his dedication and his output goes without saying. And it's just nice to see him, like you said, under a coach who's allowing him to make the most out of his, let's say, boring attributes. He's a consistent guy. He's a bit of a forgotten soldier, and Conte appreciates that and allows him to express that in a very, very meaningful manner. So I got a lot of love for D'Ambrosio.
Absolutely, and I think he's such a good player to have in this system, both as to the right of that 3-man defense, but we know he can play as a wing back. He doesn't offer a lot attacking wise, but he definitely closes defensively his side of the pitch, and that's something that Inter needed against SPAL, and it completely worked because Inter were able to play off the game without conceding much more. When he
shut it down,
he completely shut it down. Shut it completely down. And it doesn't matter if he's on the right or the left. And that is such an important player to have in any team that wants to win titles and wants to be at the top. And Inter have that. So I definitely understand that they want to extend his contract and that they want him there because he's been there through the banter era and he did not work for, he wasn't one of the better players in that era. But the past few seasons, he's really picked up his game and is becoming one of the most solid defenders in the Inter have. But Ed, do you have anything to add? Do you want to add to that, to the D'Ambrosio love fest?
Yeah. I mean, I normally don't have nice things to say about him, but I mean, I thought he was very composed yesterday, and I kind of always suspected that as a right back, obviously in the old system, he sometimes wasn't great when people were cutting in behind him. But here, when he's the right centre back, he seemed very consistent. And then the advantage, of course, was that if you took Candreva off because he'd been running his socks off all day, you could just put D'Ambrosio on the right. And actually, there was a moment when D'Ambrosio did an absolutely astounding thing. He managed to basically backheel first time a control to immediately launch Inter on the counter. I was just like, that can't be him. This can't be. I must be on Quaaludes. That was incredible. The confidence Conte's given these guys to play that kind of football as well. But no, absolutely, I give the man credit. And I mean, I always thought that he was the kind of person that may be worth keeping around just, perché fa spogliatoio, because he keeps, players together, because he's a good example and what have you. So yeah, under the kind of present circumstances, I've got no beef with keeping him around. If it's that kind of play, why not?
What about you, Alex? Whether are you on Quaaludes or not? Whether or not you're on that, what's your opinion?
No, I think with me, everything well said, and you guys are preaching to the choir with me. I've been a D'Ambrosio backer for a long time. I think he's criminally underrated. So I wanted to shift to Kandreva because you asked about him as well, Nima, and just the recovery that he's made under Conte is nothing short of astounding. I mean, if you could have summed up his 2018, 2019 season last year in a meme, it would have been him several times just with no defender near him, not a body near him, just out dribbling himself out of bounds, making stupid errors. And then you fast forward to this season, 2019, 2020, and, the move that he made on that Slavia Prague defender before putting in a cross that gave a free header to Lukaku that hit the crossbar. That was one of the best pieces of skill I've seen in recent memory, and it came from Antonio Candreva. I mean, to think what this guy is doing now on a regular basis with this year's Inter team, I never thought I'd say this over the last 3 years or so, but I now have a joy for watching that man play football when over the last couple of years, anytime he was on the pitch, I felt like not watching the game in protest, and now I can't get enough of the guy.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. And he got an assist as well for Lautaro's second goal. I mean, we know that when he can cross the ball early, his crosses are really good. So I agree. I think both of those players. I mean, I've been very critical of D'Ambrosio, and I think in a back four, exactly what you said, Ed. He struggles when people cross in behind him. But in this system, he's absolutely perfect to the right, and also as a wing back defensively. I think mea culpa. I didn't think he had it in him. So absolutely. I thought, what are we making of this collapse that we saw in the second half? Was it basically just? I mean, how do you guys see it in the grand scheme of things? Do you see an improvement here, or are we still worried that they're still mentally not there? What do you think, Mo?
I see no Barella, no Sensi in the midfield, ergo collapse. I think when you've got Gagliardini and Vecino, I think Gagliardini was still on. Yeah, Gagliardini and Vecino. This is the same side that collapsed with Spalletti, the same trio that collapsed mentally under Spalletti a bunch of times. So it's no surprise that this happened. What's different is, like you've alluded to earlier, is how that collapse was managed. And it was managed very well. It was just a 10-15 minute sort of episode that was shorn up by Godin's entrance. It was shorn up by, Gagliardini had to come off due to injury, but Valero's entrance onto the pitch as well. And it happened. And then, business as usual right after. So I think that is the difference. The difference is how these episodes are managed, and we see under this current system, they're managed much more professionally and quickly, dealt with very fast.
Agreed. What about Ed? If you were to take away the two, like the most positive thing and the most negative thing from the SPAL game, what would those be?
I think the positive play is the attacking play overall, because I just thought it was very creative. It was nice. We were finding solutions to get behind them. We were a little bit wasteful, but certainly, the negative thing, the most negative, I'm not entirely sure I've got that much beef with conceding back goal in particular, but it was the fact that we still looked exposed even afterwards, and SPAL could have potentially equalized. It was that kind of thing where we looked a little bit, we needed to score more goals basically to feel safe. And you can't probably win Serie A by doing that. I don't want to be sort of, raining on anyone's parade here, but I think you need to be the kind of team like, I hate to say this, Juventus, even without all the extra things that they get on the side, they tend to defend better in those kinds of situations. If they're 1-0 up away against Cagliari, for example, they'll probably hold on to that lead. Maybe not this year's team, mind you.
Maybe not with Gigi Buffon in goal. What was that against Sassuolo? Jesus. Nah, it was embarrassing. Like, what is he doing? He's ruining his own legacy. Like, just dude, retire already. It's like,
I got no beef with it.
Oh, Jesus.
What's he going to retire to? Is he going to become an odds maker? What's this thing? Is he going to go work for fucking Unibet? What's he going to do? That's il quote Buffone.
Oh, Jesus. we have a member of the Curva Nord here today, as you can all hear. No, it's just that. Right, Alex. I mean, where do you think? I mean, the SPAL game was just another win. At the end of the day, Inter were able to take on. Inter were able to overtake Juventus in the Serie A. I don't know. I'm going to ask this to everyone how you guys feel, but I'm going to start with you there. But I can't get too excited because I've seen this movie before. I know it's a different team. I know we have a much better manager and blah 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 blah. But I refuse to get overly excited over this and jump on any hype train because I still think that, if you look at before the mid-season point, Inter have Fiorentina, Roma, Napoli, Atalanta, and Genoa. Juve have Roma and Lazio, and that's the only tough teams they have. Other than that, they're playing Sampdoria and they're playing Genoa and Udinese or whatever. I mean, to me, they're still going to be leading at the halfway point. Am I being overly negative, or what's your take on that?
No, I am certainly thankful for the start. I mean, taking 12 victories in 14 league matches, it's an Inter record, and it's unbelievable. I don't think any of us expected to start off this well. But with that said, many of these victories are games Inter was supposed to win, and they went out there and took care of business. So when you talk about the fixtures ahead, the fixtures to come, you raise a fair point, and that's why I'm not quite ready to streak through the streets of Miami Beach naked with the Scudetto banner. I'm gonna have to wait until May for that. I did want to add something. Yeah, on Quaaludes, of course. I did want to add something to the mentality of the SPAL match, though, because I thought that Edo brought up a very good point on how they could have even conceded an equalizer after giving up the goal that made it 2-1. There is a flip side to that, though. When we think about how tense that match was down the stretch through the 94th minute, we also need to consider that it could have been a lot less stressful if Lautaro Martinez had managed to score when he was one-on-one with the keeper. Now, I can't criticize the guy too much when he would have been on a hat trick at that point, had 2 goals. So he's the reason why Inter won the match. But a little bit of bad luck goes into this as well, because he was, had that ball put on a silver platter by Lukaku with that one-touch pass. And had he put it away rather than getting, tackled by the keeper, it would have been 3-1. It would have been, and that was around the 70th minute. So the final 20 minutes would have been much less stressful. So the opportunity was there to put the match away with less stress. But guys, we know that Pazze Inter is going to Pazze Inter, and we had to sweat all the way through.
Amen. What about you, Mo? I mean, when are you going to jump on the hype train? I mean, are you sure? As everything Alex said, I think we all agree with, so we don't have to repeat that. But I can't get excited. I'll tell you when I'll be excited. If Inter are leading, I have a couple of checkpoints. If at halfway point after 19 games, Inter are in the lead, then fine. I'll buy my ticket to get on the hype train, and if we're in this position in April, I'll be fully on it. What about you? When will you buy your ticket, and when will you jump on?
We've said it before on this podcast, man. April, not a day before.
Okay.
I don't care. I don't care about anything that happens before.
I agree.
I'm very happy. I mean, first thing I did yesterday was put on my new Inter jersey and go to my friend Milanista friend's house. And of course, that's what I did. And I'm at his house again today, recording the podcast wearing last season's jersey. So of course I did.
No mercy,
absolutely none whatsoever. But really, when do I proclaim that we are, to myself more than to anyone, that we are real Scudetto contenders? April, not a day before. Like you just said, I've seen this movie before, so I'll believe it when I live it.
Okay. And Ed, I think you kind of said that you would agree with Mo there.
Yeah, no. I just want to enjoy the moment. I want to be grounded. I want to be present. I want to be life hack. I want to be meditating. I just want to enjoy it right now.
Okay, cool. Let's leave it that. Then.
You know what? I'll say something else. Actually, if people dare to dream, that's also a good thing. Actually, I don't care. It's about just feeling right. It sounds insanely stupid, but I think I actually don't care if I get my heart broken and I start dreaming again. I just don't feel ready for it. But when I do, I'll have no regrets. And I think actually it could be before April, even though I know that Juventus is the kind of team that doesn't fuck up Feb and March, which are the months that typical Juve rivals in recent years have completely arsed up, including the Napoli team that had at one point, I think, was it 8 or 9 points lead over Juve? I think it was Sarri's first real title challenge, I think, in his first season at Napoli. They were quite a few points ahead of Juventus at one point, and then by Feb, March, it was all gone. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, maybe maybe Mo is the most realistic and the most grounded, but I think at one point, start dreaming. Why not? I mean, we're Inter fans. We'll get our hearts broken millions of times anyway. We may as well enjoy it when we don't.
For sure. I wanted to have a little debate here. I don't know what you guys think about each one of these situations, but I'm very keen to hear what you guys think. And it's basically about Gabigol, because I am so. No, we need to talk about this, because the guy is not a bidone. He's not crap. You do not become the capocannoniere. You don't become the top scorer of the Copa Libertadores and you score twice in 3 minutes to win it for El Flamengo. He's won the Brazilian Serie A. He's become the top scorer there. I don't know. I mean, it's clear that Conte doesn't want to bring him, so I guess it's moot point whether he comes back or not. But I don't know if I think that's such a good idea. I mean, is it a mistake? Isn't it a mistake? I'm really keen to hear what you guys think. And Alex, why don't you let us know?
I think that friend of this podcast, David Amoyal, I think it raised a good point on social media about this. Why I'm not really in favor of bringing Gabigol back. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that for him to come here and be at best the third choice striker at this point, I don't think that's the best situation for him. And in turn, probably is not the best situation for Inter. And plus, guys, I see the way he's playing. I see the way he can't stop scoring, and I can't ignore it. But call me negative, but I still remember, how he flopped in Europe for the first, year and a half that he spent on that side of the pond. So something to me just says, you know what, you have an opportunity here at a Plus Valenza. You have a chance to let him spread his wings and succeed. Hopefully, it's not for a Serie A rival, and I don't think it would be, but. I'm not in favor of bringing him back.
Okay. What about you, Mo? Where do you stand on this?
100% behind what Alex has said. 100%. There's nothing to add. Everything I think Alex just said perfectly.
What about you, Ed? Do you think? What do you think? Do you agree with the boys?
I like to link this back to the idea that somebody told me, would you want Dries Mertens playing for Inter? Because there's been some talk along those lines.
Don't.
Right. But, I mean, I do actually love the old Dries, and I love Lorenzo Insigne, but would they even fit in our system right now? Are you going to get a guy like that to be potentially a bench warmer? No, potentially a bench warmer. And then, I'm sorry, but I have to think about all the other Brazilian legends who had been linked to Serie A or went to Serie A, such as Edmundo or Animal. Remember what happened to him?
Yes, I remember.
Of course, he was completely crackers. I mean, he probably could have succeeded in Europe if he hadn't spent all his time getting monkeys drunk and what have you. But I also think about other geniuses like Rafael Sobis or the man Van Petta himself, obviously.
I was just going to say Van Petta.
Roma themselves, we played them on Friday. They have great memories of Renato Portaluppi or Renato Gaúcho. He was, in Brazil, he was an absolute god. So, I mean, this Brasileirão is getting better, and it's a great league to watch and what have you. But it's true that with a guy like Gabigol, you just don't know. I'm just a bit, you bring him over here again, and
okay,
I'm inclined to agree with everyone else, to be honest with you. Okay, I'm inclined to agree. Yeah.
So we should sell him. Make a Plus Valenza. Why not? Personally, I think that let me put it to you this way: if sending Gabigol and Dalbert to Fiorentina for Federico Chiesa plus a little bit of money in between, I'm all for it, because you all know what I think about Federico Chiesa.
Please, no Chiesa.
No.
No
Chiesa. He's
what class?
He is 40 class. He's a 40 class. He's absolutely brilliant, and he's so young.
Diving cheap.
Oh, come on!
Diving cheap. Oh my goodness.
We'll have
keep that Juventini scum out of my club, please.
Oh God, we'll have that debate next time. Tell you what, because this was a Gabigol discussion, but it seems everyone has agreed. I've been voted down. Gabigol is to be sold for a Plus Valenza, I want to use that plus Valenza to bring in Federico.
If I may add just one quick point about this.
Yeah.
So now we've got the Juventini guy who built that legacy. Obviously, Allegri continued it, and Paratici's great, and Sarri is a great coach. But I mean, Conte and Marotta were the guys who built all of that. And even at the time, Conte was resisting the urge to buy mental players that Conte still wanted. An example, for example, being Iturbe, because Conte loved Iturbe. And Marotta just said no. I think Moratti almost has a better idea than Conte sometimes of what would work well in Conte's system. And now, ironically, Juventus, on the other hand, have bought a lot of misfit toys, a lot of square pegs that don't necessarily fit into their system. I mean, over the last few years, you've seen, dudes like Bernardeschi, and you've seen dudes like Rabiot, and you've seen a bunch of guys who aren't exactly quite the right fit. I mean, even Ronaldo's not turning out to be amazing. I don't know. It's quite, now suddenly Juventus, the guys who are spending all this money on dudes who aren't necessarily being a success, whilst we seem to actually be a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe this is castles in the sky, but I'd rather be a bit more sensible with what money we do have. It's not Moratti's into where we can just buy everyone like we used to. Not that worked anyway. But.
No. But I mean, personally, I'd like to have. I mean, personally, for me, Tonali and Chiesa, these guys are so young and so damn good. And I think that Italy is going into a golden age again in terms of quality of Italian players and the national team, etc.
There's bloody hope, sir.
Yeah, no, I honestly believe that, and therefore I think that I want to be on that train, and I would love for Inter to hoover up and have the midfield of the Nazionale with Sensi, Tonali, and Barella for the next decade, and with Chiesa up there. I mean, that to me is just wow. So I know Mo and I will debate this fully about Chiesa sí or Chiesa no another time. As you guys have already alluded to, we have Roma at home. If I'm not mistaken, it's at the San Siro, and I'm very happy that it is. Well, my first reaction was I'm happy this is at home that we're playing Roma. But then I took a step back and thought about it. Given how well Roma have played away from home, and how well Inter have played away from home and not so good at home, I'm a little bit apprehensive. I don't know what to think here, because Roma are really good. I rated them fourth. I think they're definitely coming third. They have a really good squad. They have a really good coach. They have a balanced squad. And they can play in quite a few different ways, and they can attack in quite a few different ways and hurt you. This to me is after Juventus the most difficult challenge I think Inter will face in this league, at home at least. What are your thoughts going into this, Alex?
I think that you could certainly argue health-wise that this matchup probably comes at the worst possible time for Inter and the best possible time for Roma. I mean, Roma's flying right now. They're the healthiest they've been since very early on in the season, and Inter basically has a midfield that is duct taped together right now. So I think if you had a healthy Barella and a healthy Sensi, I would feel very confident, even at home where they've struggled, about Inter in this match. But I think it's going to be a close match. I still will predict a victory, but I think Inter is going to have to suffer a little bit, because I still think that Roma has their issues defensively, guys, for as well as Smalling has played. He's been the story of the year. I mean, against Hellas, I think they had Hellas had 3 goals rightfully overruled for offside, but you see Roma sometimes just forget that the back posts even exist when they're on defense. So I think there will be opportunities to score some goals, also some opportunities to concede, and I think this is going to be the test now coming in December, a month where Inter, historically struggles. You start to struggle around this time of year. I think this is going to be a great measuring stick to truly show us where Inter is right now.
Couldn't agree with you more. Mo, as Alex alluded to, this is a measuring stick. What are you expecting to see here? I mean, obviously what we hope to see. But, I mean, a lot of people, myself included, do feel that this is a different Inter. Now is the time to obviously show that. But tell me a little bit about what you're expecting, or what you expect to see against Roma.
Let me just take a second first to acknowledge that the man from Miami is on top form tonight. Like, what's up, Alex? Well, no, fantastic analysis of how the match should probably go. Look, I agree with a lot of it. I also just think that a lot has been made of Roma's resurgence. I think Fonseca is clearly a great coach. I think the squad is definitely amongst the top 5 or 6 in the Serie A. But I also think that they're not as good as people make him out to be. At the end of the day, Smalling is their stand-up player at the moment. And Smalling, like anyone who's seen the guy play in the Premiership knows that he shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a football pitch, let alone, become a star.
But I mean, let's be fair. You could say the same about Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez as well.
No.
You could say that in the Premier League.
Sanchez and Lukaku have had entire bodies of work that have been, commendable and acknowledged, and are there for everyone to see. A season or half a season of subpar performances under a very turbulent club that's clearly in transition is nothing to judge their overall body of work by, especially Lukaku. Smalling has always been awful. Like, I mean, like I have two United friends, two brothers were on a group chat together. I don't know. Do we still not swear on this podcast or what? Because I've been holding my tongue for like.
Yeah, Ed has thrown that out the window tonight. But please, Mo.
Oh,
please,
we're not supposed to.
Oh, we're not. It's okay. It's okay. Go, Mo. Go.
The guy's a car wreck, So I mean. And he's shining in a defense that's got Santon and Juan Jesus in it. So clearly the bar is very low.
Mancini as well. Come
on. Of course, okay. Mancini is one player, but you know what? You understand what I'm getting at,
Yeah, I do.
So I'm not really. I don't want to say I'm not scared of Roma. I'm not worried about Roma. Of course, every opponent has to be given their due respect and judged. But I'd reckon like it's teams like SPAL that pose the bigger threat, teams that are super afraid or like for them this is an occasion of all occasions to come to the San Siro. I feel like Fonseca maybe will think that, you know what, I can have a go at this and make a game out of this match, out of this fixture, and then he'll fall right into Conte's trap, That's how I imagine the match playing out. I think we'll suffer, but ultimately we've got a better coach, a better side. Like even with the injuries in the midfield, I mean, we don't know what the specialist in Barcelona has ruled Sensi's abductor situation. If he is going to come back for this match, or he'll be kept on ice for the Barcelona game. But that aside, even with Valero, Vicino, and Brozovic as the midfield trio, or even putting Skriniar there or Asamoah there and putting Bastoni back in defense, regardless of what 11 come on the pitch today, we are the stronger side in terms of players, and we have a better coach, and it's at home. So I hope that Roma feel they can come at Inter and take the match to us, because it's just going to make matters so much easier. If they sit back, they can't afford to sit back with such a crappy defense. But if they do decide to sit back and be compact and try and pick us off on the counterattack, maybe the match can be a bit more tricky. But if they decide to come at us, I don't see this match going anywhere but 2 fast goals in the first half for Inter, and then it's easy pickings,
I hope you're absolutely right. I don't agree that they had struggles in the beginning of the season with their defense, especially, but then Juan Jesus hasn't seen the pitch since that first game against Genoa, and Chris Smalling, or Smaldini as they call him in the Serie A moderators of YouTube, I wouldn't go that far, but he's been absolutely fantastic. There's no doubt.
And on that Smaldini note, have you guys seen the frightening face mashups where they put Smalling's face, within Maldini's head, like some ungodly combination?
That is sacrilege. That is sacrilege. I'm not a Milanista, but that is sacrilege. That would really piss me off if I was a Milan fan. I would be furious if they did that, because that's just sacrilege, But he has been good. He's been really, really good. And him and Mancini have been phenomenal. The Mancini has been even phenomenal playing as a central defensive midfielder. But I think that if this game was played in Rome, I would be confident of an Inter win. But since this game is played at the San Siro, not so much, because Roma are a good away team and Inter aren't as good as at home as they are away. And that's what really struggles me. That's what really kind of bothers me. Where do you stand on this, Ed?
It's true that I'm a little bit torn. I just see this game as an ambush. I really do, especially because Roma used to be cursed at the San Siro, but Totti put paid to that, I believe, around 2005 when at one point, I think he chipped Toldo or Julio Cesar, whoever was in goal that day. He scored it was just an amazing goal. It was Toldo. Ti ricordi pure te. Yeah, I remember that. I was watching that on terrible, Chinese stream in England in the good old early days of Chinese stream. Oh my God, bad days, bad times. And yeah, the problem is that the Roma play well. They really do play well, and I just see Inter Milan. The win before SPAL. Torino was it? That was a rare occasion when Inter don't concede a goal. And you do wonder, Roma are probably going to score against us.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to avoid that conclusion. It's quite hard to. I still do think we are better coached and we are a better team. And I'd probably still ride Lukaku and Lautaro's as coattails. But we're not that far from drawing a lot of these games 2-2. We really aren't. And I think Roma are the kind of team that can expose that. You got yourself Kluivert, who's not playing bad. Dzeko, who's not playing badly. But more than not playing badly, Lorenzo Pellegrini,
what is
assists.
going on? When did he turn into this play? I never rated him this much. He's really, really good. And Zaniolo, obviously.
No, him.
Yeah, I know. No, so what
do we get in return? A bag of potatoes.
No, we got our favorite Belgian party king, or disco king, as I saw Gab Marcotti.
He's not buying me any lines of Chang, is he? Sardinia.
Oh, for crying out loud! Right, let's just predict it on that note before this completely goes off the rails. Ed, give me a prediction and scores for that game.
I'm going to correct my natural Interista lean towards negativity, and I'm going to say 2-1 us.
Okay.
Reserving the right to then say I told you so if it's 2-2.
No, that doesn't work.
That's not how it works.
Jesus Christ. No. You stick to a prediction, mate. No double dipping.
Fair enough.
So 2-1. Who scores?
Lautaro and Lukaku. There you go,
okay.
baby.
Okay, I'm going to say 2-2 because I think it's a 2-2. This has got 2-2 written all over it. I think Roma will score 1-0. Inter will turn it around into 2-1, and then Roma will get one back at the end. I think Lukaku and Lautaro will score one each, and I think Dzeko and Zaniolo will score. He'll score the equalizer. Yeah, he'll score the equalizer as well, just to rub it in. Right, Alex, what about you?
I'm going to go 3-2 Inter, so I see quite a bit of scoring. I'm going to go with Lukaku, probably Lautaro first, because he scores within the first 30 minutes in every game. So I'll go Lautaro first, Lukaku, and then how about a game winner for Brozovic? And I'll go with Dzeko and Kluivert for Roma.
Ooh, nice one. But I think Kluivert's injured. I think he injured himself.
Oh, you know what? If he's injured, I'll go your route, Nima, and I'll say Zaniolo because the former Inter player will score against Inter. I'll go with that.
Because of course they always do.
Yeah, exactly. Mo, what about you?
I refuse to speak after Alex from now on.
Okay. I'll have to separate you.
I said in my mind, I said it's a 3-2, and I said Brozovic will score and Lukaku and Lautaro. So that's that. I was literally, I didn't even bother to predict who the Roma scorers were.
Okay.
But yeah.
Fair enough. Right, let's move on to the part of the show where we pay tribute, rip the piss out of, criticize someone or something heavily in the world of football, starting with the negativity, this week's Moggi, which will be presented by Mr. Eduardo Dalmonte.
Yeah, hi, how you doing? This week's negative. This week's Luciano Moggi are people who are too stupid to even get a degree in journalism, like he did a couple of years ago. God knows why. Well, I can imagine why. In fact, I imagine rewriting history is one of his big objectives. Anyway, yeah, Slavia Prague's jabroni fans for what they said to Lukaku, and the kind of comments that are racist comments that he says he heard. And if he says he heard it, that's more than good enough for me. And frankly, a jabroni is a jabroni in whatever country they happen to be in. In this case, it's particularly annoying because it's like you're getting shellacked on your own home ground. Shut your face. And the fact that he was basically just facing them down is it just makes you love the man.
And in that moment, it was like, you know what, I do want to buy your shirt because Lukaku. I wanted to buy that Rottweiler shirt afterwards later, because it was like, I'm on your side now. In a way, the cynic in me is almost thinking, are these people egging him on? And is it actually kind of, in a perverse way, benefiting Inter to making him even angrier? Look, I don't know. That's probably a stupid thing to say, actually. But yeah,
no, I understand what no. I mean, for me, the fact that they go out so hard after the game and say that we apologized after the game for what our fans did. Now you should apologize. And
yeah, F you. Like what?
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
Racism
What
doesn't work that way.
No, mate. Sorry. Exactly. No, it does not work like that. No, I thought it was.
Czech Republic, where you've had national team players who are of African origin, because you Gebre Selassie, innit?
Yeah.
Like, what's the you people should be aware of this by now. Like, come on, why does everybody with half a brain cell have to act as a support teacher for the rest of the jabroni sovranista Europe? Like, seriously.
If you don't know Italian, I urge you learn Italian just to understand what Ed says at times, because it's funny. I'm not going to repeat or translate. That's for you all to learn. Right. It's funny. Right. Let's move on to something much more comical. This week's Frog, which will be presented by Mr. Alex Donno.
È clamoroso! Autogol di Ranocchia!
It's been a very tough season in the top flight for Brescia, but I'm going to go with the latest chapter for them. We found out shortly before we started recording this. So unfortunately for former World Cup hero Fabio Grosso, he has been sacked by Brescia. Only 3 games at the helm. Didn't perform well, of course, during that time. No goals scored, 10 conceded during that stretch. But, guys, in typical Italian provincial fashion, when you sack your manager, who do you bring in? You bring in the guy that you sacked in the first place to bring in the new manager. So Grosso is out. Corini is back. The carousel has started back up for Brescia. They get the Frog of the Week.
Yeah, when Cellino's Cellino, he's full on Zamparini. So yeah, he is very funny. Right, let's move on to something much more positive. This week's Moratti, which will be presented by Mr. Positivity himself, Mystic Mo Nassar.
He works a lot, he's intelligent, and he surprises people sometimes with his ideas. Not easy to find one person of these qualities.
Thank you very much for acknowledging the new title.
Greatest name ever.
So I have a laundry list of positivity this week. Like honestly, so much to choose from. I mean, we could always go with the partnership, Lukaku, Lautaro, Lula, the goals, the assists, whatever. But I think I'd like to give a very honorable mention to Brozovic for literally carrying, not literally, but almost literally carrying the entire midfield against SPAL, especially in the second half. The guy, I mean, much has been said of by everyone of his ability to just run endlessly and nonstop. But not only that, but his quality, like his output just does not dip across the 90 minutes. And I'm so grateful to have this guy on the side, especially when faced with this current midfield injury crisis. Another thing I'd like to also commend is, I've spoken about this earlier, but the Intermedia House, the content that these guys are putting out is just really fantastic. I don't know if you guys have seen those open access videos that they do after
really
the games.
Good. They're really good.
Really nice.
Really
like,
good. Really good. They are really
fantastic.
Good.
And especially on the home games, you get to see the sort of activations that they have prior to the match. It really makes you feel like, A, you're part of the match day proceedings, and B, I really want to go to the matches there. You know, it really sells the San Siro, the Meazza as a very special day. So, I as an expatriated, as a non-resident fan or a fan at a distance, I'm really appreciative after so many years of garbage by Inter-channel, whatever it was called earlier. It's really nice to get some quality social media content out from the club. So yeah,
As long as they don't sing Inter bells ever again.
Dude,
as long as
that was the best thing in the world.
Oh, stop! I wanted
you
to
guys keep
gouge my
hating.
eyes out.
You keep
No, I
hating
don't
on
hate.
this.
I was cringing.
Spalletti, what was Spalletti playing? The triangle or is it the
No. He wasn't. He was the
maracas?
conductor. No, he was the
He's
conductor.
the conductor. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It was
Valero
on the
maracas. Yes.
It was
And I think
some of the
Nagatomo
most
was.
amazing content in the history of it.
No, I cringed.
Nagatomo was the lead singer. We found out he had the best voice on the team, and they still needed to auto-tune his entire. He was so bad they had to auto-tune him, but he was the best singer on the team.
Yeah, I think that says it all, really. To be honest, yeah, that's Yuto-san. God bless. Right, that's all we had time for this week. I'd like to thank you, Edo. Don't be a stranger.
Oh, no, thank you guys. Seriously, thanks for having us back.
And you, Mr. Mo Nassar, or Mystic Mo.
Oh, yeah, thanks, guys.
Mr. Alex Donno.
Always a pleasure.
And until next week, I'm your host, Nima Tavallaey, wishing you a good week, 3 points, and sempre e solo Forza Inter.